That's true.
All right, good evening, everybody. It is 6:30 p.m. Today is Tuesday, December 12th. This is the Olentangy Local School Board, Board of Education regular meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Mr. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Mr. Lester?
Here.
Dr. Dabrico?
Here.
Dr. Wise?
Here.
Dr. Wallach?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as written. We have no amendments tonight. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Start the meeting. All right, first, second. Any discussion on the agenda? All right, seeing none. Mr. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Dr. Wise?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes. All right, we'll jump right into the board president's report. So we have a full agenda tonight. We've got second policy readings. We've got kind of some administrative stuff. I believe we have the naming of the
Redistricting announcement for
Redistricting?
Peach Blow Crossing? Yes.
and the
then
announcement for Peachtree Crossing.
the mascot reveal.
And last but not least is Ms. Wise, Dr. Wise's last meeting with us. So with that, I don't want to delay things. So any updates or things from the board members from committees?
We had the Facilities Committee meeting last week. Part of what we've done in that committee is started to look at the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission and some of the opportunities there may be there to secure additional funding for some of our schools in the future. I think this is going to be a long-term review process. It's not something that there's going to be any recommendation to do imminently, just because of some of the difficulties around what that process looks like. But we've been studying that and having some good discussion. We also got an update on Elementary 17, which we'll hear more about tonight. And then really had a bit of a discussion as well about just the nature of the influx of students that we're going to be getting and the impact it's going to have on our facilities. It's always been a role of that committee to start to look at where the enrollment trends are going, where we're starting to see really full capacities in all of our schools. We'll talk about this certainly more as the months go on, but our elementary schools, 12 of the 16, are over capacity right now. Our high schools, middle schools are facing some of these same issues. So it remains an area of concern for the Facilities Committee and certainly the board as a whole. It is something that we're looking at, especially as we're heading toward the levy in the spring.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Dr. Dabrico?
No, sir.
Good. So I will turn over to Dr. Wise. You had a few things you wanted to say?
I do. Thank you. So first and foremost, I do have to thank God for the opportunity to serve on this board. When I ran for this seat, the school board just was not the place to be. It was not happening. But the last 3 years were definitely eventful. 3 months into my term, we were hit with COVID. Former board member, I remember Ms. Julie Fiesel saying constantly during our meetings, we are building a plane, trying to fly it at the same time. We were navigating the unknown. The board relied on the knowledge of the Delaware County Health Department, the district leadership team, to navigate through the uncharted waters while trying to keep our kids and staff safe. It was physically and mentally challenging. It was a physically and mentally challenging time for many families, including my own. During my term, we experienced the response of the death of George Floyd. Students who shared their experiences of dealing with racial epithets, being taunted for the color of their skin, the microaggressions, and not just feeling safe and being heard in our schools. Some people listened and recognized that change was needed. Some people chose to deny the students' voices and answer back with critical race theory, attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and any other political hot topics that would allow one to continue to hold disdain for another race and ethnic group in their heart. I received emails full of vitriol about CRT, diversity, equity, and inclusion. One man's hate led him to follow me home after a board meeting. And after that incident, my husband followed me to and from meetings to ensure I was safe. While these times were hard and rough, we as elected officials held to our district vision and mission. I am very proud of what has been accomplished during my time, such as opening an elementary and middle school, hiring a new treasurer, successfully passing a much-needed levy, becoming the first public school to receive accreditation from Orton-Gillingham, earning financial report recognition, hiring a new superintendent, becoming a certified behavioral health provider, receiving the Auditor of State Award with distinction, and lastly, receiving an overall top rating of 5 stars from the State District Report Card. That is awesome. I am thankful for the opportunity to serve alongside our past and current board members. While we all have different thoughts and backgrounds, we are a cohesive board. Mr. O'Brien's history of the district and knowledge and past practices were helpful to me. Dr. Dabercraw, Mr. Lester, and Dr. Wallet, it's been a pleasure to serve along each of you. I know the newly elected official, Ms. Schreiber. You will be a great addition to the board. Mr. Jenkins, you stepped into your role utilizing your teaching skills to educate the community and board about the district finances and making listening to finances not so boring. Mr. Myers, you took the bull by the horns when you became the superintendent. I can say that this board did good in selecting you to oversee this district. A special thank you to you and your district leadership team. To the board committees, this board relied on your work to do, the work you do to help make decisions for the good of our district. Thank you for volunteering your time and knowledge. Serving on this board requires that was unexpected. All right, serving on this board required a sacrifice. Excuse me, which impacted my family, who I love dearly. To my husband, who's here tonight, supported me from time I decided to run to this moment. Thank you. To my children, Ebony, Essence, and Elijah, you were excited when my term started, but the realization of not having me at your games turned into disappointment. I had the opportunity to hand my girls their diplomas this year. That emotional moment outweighed the moments I was absent. And to my son, Elijah, I'll be able to attend every fall and spring game going forward. I have to thank my friends who helped on game nights when I had meetings and my husband had events at his school. And my final words, thank you to the Olentangy community. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have served you. That's it.
All right, thank you. Before the superintendent, don't go ahead, you go up. This will take a minute. I just want to thank Dr. Wise for her contribution to the board. You know, I've been here a long time, I think we talked about that. I appreciate her input, her courage. I've said this before, anyone that puts their name forward to be on the board, it takes courage and it takes commitment, and we appreciate that very much. And, you know, as you indicated, it also means sacrifice, times away from your family and times away from the things that are important to you, but I think you did it really well. There are many things I have learned along the way. You provided different perspective, different insights that we all need to think about, and it's really brought incredible value to the board. Kind of on the side, the most important thing you taught me was these touch screens actually work. I sat here for 13 years, had no idea. But that aside, your input was incredible, and I really enjoyed and appreciated serving with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Meyer.
Okay. So we're going to continue with the celebration. So on behalf of the district leadership team and all of Olentangy, thank you, because you said it best. Sacrifice, service, leadership, courage. It takes all of those things to be a good board member, and you were sitting in that seat for the right reasons. And we truly appreciate your service over the years. We've highlighted a few things, but most importantly, Joe is here. So, Joe, thank you for sharing Dr. Wise with us the last 4 years. And we also wanted to recognize, because I know you're extremely proud of your children, Ebony and Essence, who are freshmen in college now, and then your son, Elijah, which you said you're going to get to see him throughout his high school career and the things that he does. And, you know, as a parent, you know, nothing more rewarding than obviously watching your kids do what they do best. So we want to for sure thank you. So we have this plaque in recognition for 4 years of outstanding and dedicated Board of Education service, Dr. Lakeisha Wise. And then also, Dr. Wise, before you leave tonight, one of those poinsettias, make sure you take one of those poinsettias home as well.
Because did you know today is National Poinsettia Day?
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I know it's National Something Day every day, but it doesn't surprise me. So, and then we have one for you as well, President O'Brien, to take too, because you'll be handing off the baton as when we come back in January. So, one for you as well. All right, so moving on, want to recognize Marissa McCarthy, who was awarded the Milken Educator Award on November 30th. This was really, really cool. So my 33 years might have been one of the coolest experiences I've been a part of. So what happened, probably about 2 months ago, I got a call from the State Department of Education letting us know that one of our teachers was going to receive this award, and had to promise to keep it totally secret. Couldn't say anything to anyone, including our team, which when they finally found out, they were not happy with me. So I guess, so the Milken Foundation, you don't get nominated or apply, they find you. So from thousands of teachers across the country, they do this research and vet teachers from all across the country. And this year in Ohio, we had 2 and from Ohio, and Marissa McCarthy, who's a math teacher at Shanahan Middle School, was presented a check for $25,000 on that day in a whole wide school assembly. And Dr. Wallach was there. We had state dignitaries there, obviously the Milken Foundation. Those kids were riled up that day, weren't they, Dr. Wallach?
It was funny, too, because they were all theorizing on what the assembly was for, because
Yes.
nobody knew, so they had
nobody
lots
knew.
of great
Top
ideas.
secret. So, yeah, a lot of theories out there. So, obviously, a tremendous honor for Ms. McCarthy, but also Olentangy schools as well. All right, as promised last month, want to recognize some of our outstanding performing arts groups and individuals from across the 4 high schools. So Olentangy High School Band, superior rating at the Ohio Music Education Association State Finals, and then 5th place at the Mid-State Band Associations, and that's quadruple A championship. So that's quadruple A. And then also orchestra, OMEA, All-State Orchestra, so Varun and Alex, so congratulations to all of those individuals from Olentangy High School. Liberty High School Band, we have a band parent on the board. Are you going to wave? Yes.
Just the best.
Marching band received superior rating at OMEA State Marching Band Finals, and then All-State Band Lincoln from Liberty High School. Choir Sounds of Liberty, one of 7 groups chosen from over 50 a cappella ensembles to perform there at Kettering. And then also All-State Choir Kellen. And our performing arts, if anyone in the audience or the community ever have a chance to go to our high schools, tremendous talent in our performing arts at all 4 of our high schools. Orchestra, All-State Strings, Austin, Ethan, Claire, Daniel, Jacob, Herschel, Nathan, All-State Winds, Margaret and Tony, so congratulations from Liberty High School. Orange High School Band, OMEA All-State Band, for Brendan, Harsh, and Eric, and then also District 10 Honor Band. And then we had a couple honor bands, or few students recognized in Capital University Honor Band through audition, and then also Ohio University. All-State Choir, Emily and Mia, and then the theater department from Orange High School, all Ohio show, Head Over Heels. And you can see Kyra cast as Pamela and Samra, that's what I'm going to say, as sound designer. And then also the International Thespian Excellence Award, and then superior rating for solo musical theater, solo acting, so a lot of awards there for the theater department. Duet acting, I don't want to miss any of them. Group acting, and then another group acting, so a lot of individuals from the theater department there at Orange. And then finally, Berlin High School Band and Orchestra selected to perform at Walt Disney World, so I'm sure that'll be a fun trip. And then the choir advanced treble ensemble selected to perform at OMEA State Conference, and then All-State Choir Evelyn, Claire, Caleb, and Gracie. And then we have theater recognition. Kayla was nominated for Broadway World's Next on Stage competition. So that's a competition where they look at theater talent and you go through different rounds. And so she was nominated and worked through that competition. So congratulations to our performing arts groups across the high schools. And again, encourage anyone in attendance and anyone from the community, if you have an opportunity, a free night, a lot of things going on in our high schools. Okay, so as promised as well, big redistricting announcement. So Ms. Gryjek, you're going to have students after tonight.
I know.
Yeah, excited? Excited? So let's. I'm excited too because my first redistricting announcement, and as Mr. Lester mentioned, and as all of you know, Olentangy continues to grow, so this is something we do quite often. So we've updated our elementary attendance boundaries twice over the last 2 years, in 2021 with the opening of Shale Meadows, and in 2022 to reduce overcrowding at numerous elementary schools across the district. As we grow and open new schools to accommodate that growth, we must adjust our attendance boundaries. As superintendent, 2 critical responsibilities I have are to assign staff and to assign students to schools. Assigning students involves examining our current attendance boundaries and following the Board of Education's redistricting guidelines. A superintendent's committee of 14 community members has done a deep dive into our attendance boundaries, building utilization, feeder patterns, and projected enrollment growth. They met monthly since July, held 2 community forums, and analyzed feedback from 145 community members. Thank you to those community members who provided feedback through the committee's survey. After analyzing the feedback, the committee presented me with a recommendation following the redistricting guidelines that revises attendance boundaries to relieve overcrowding at Cheshire Elementary and Arrowhead Elementary, two buildings that are far exceeding student enrollment capacity. So I do want to take a moment to thank this committee of volunteers because, again, these are volunteer community members who are volunteers who serve on this committee. Can't thank you enough for dedicating all of your time to this important task. Nico's in the audience. He's part of the committee, so thank you. He was a rookie this year, so first round. But he enjoyed it, and he told me he's coming back, so for future redistricting committees. Also want to thank Mr. Wright and Ms. Davis, co-chairs of that committee, do a wonderful job facilitating the work with that group over several months. So want to for sure thank them. The redistricting decision impacts a small sector of our district that has the most immediate need for overcrowding relief. Cheshire Elementary School is at 133% capacity and currently has students learning in 6 modular classrooms. Even with the modular addition, we are still overflowing students out of Cheshire Elementary and also out of Arrowhead Elementary because of significant growth in this area. I do want to point out there are other elementary schools across the district that are also overflowing new students to other schools due to our continued enrollment growth, and I'm going to talk about that here in a minute as well. 12 of our 16 elementary schools are at or over 100% capacity for the school, and the other 4 elementary schools are at 90% or higher capacity. So when we talk as a team, ideal utilization is 80 to 85%, allowing for specialized instruction, collaboration, related services as far as pull-outs that we need to do. So when we look at the actual school environment in a day, 80 to 85% is optimal.
Before you go off of this slide,
Yes.
I mean, I think that this is a really powerful graphic, right, to keep in mind. And I hope everybody sort of pays attention to this. This is as of November.
As
and
of
this
November.
number will continue to grow throughout the year.
Absolutely.
And as we've sort of seen with our projections, we're getting about 500 new students a year. So even if you just equally drop them in different places, which is not what happens, right? But even if you equally drop them in, these numbers are going to keep rising and rising quickly. I think it's really important to realize this, especially as we look at the time it takes to construct a school. Schools don't pop up overnight. A high school takes 3 years to build. And as we see now, 2 of our high schools are already over 100%. In 3 years, where are they going to be, right? Two of them are pretty close to 100%.
Exactly.
Middle schools take 2 years. Elementary schools take 1. So I just want everyone to sort of see this and realize that with the exception of a little bit of relief that we got by opening Berlin this year and really alleviated Hyatt's, this is a really pressing issue that this board is keeping our eyes on, and that we're looking at it, which is one of the reasons, again, why the ballot initiative is coming up.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. During COVID, we dipped a little bit, but enrollment has definitely rebounded. So as of today, our December report just came out. We're 228 students over projection, and 150 of those 228 are at the elementary level. So we'll continue to, so you're right, we have families that continue to move in.
Mr. Meyer, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So as I look at this, when we first moved to Olentangy in 2016, we met a family whose daughter, she's actually going to graduate and be an optometrist now, but she was going to Liberty, and she said many days she would stand up at lunch because there were no tables to sit at because Liberty was so crowded. So the board responded, planned for that. But there's a window here, right? Am I saying that accurately? There's a window. So we're not standing at the cliff today, but we can see it, right? We can see the cliff ahead of time. You're telling us we're how many over what we thought?
Today, 228 students today.
Where are you going to put them?
And we're managing, and that's another thing. We do such a good job of taking care of our families and managing internal. And I would say 2 things. Number one, we are at the cliff at the elementary level, and we're being responsible to plan for the future of what's coming at the middle school and high school. So for me and from our perspective with our district leadership team, it would be irresponsible to not plan forward.
So you have a shorter window for high school though as well, because if you can see 3 years ahead of time, that's the time it takes to build a high school, right?
Correct, absolutely.
So we can see it.
Yes, and Mr. Lester mentioned that. Yeah, we just don't wake up tomorrow and have a high school.
Right.
So it takes a lot of planning. So our goal is to avoid significant movement of elementary students at this time, knowing that there is greater, very immediate need for more Olentangy elementary school buildings to address the growth in the future, and that's kind of what we were just talking about. Being part of our one Olentangy family means we are all part of this outstanding district, and no matter what school your child attends, they will receive a great education. And again, we've been down this road before, and it always happens. We open a new building, we send students and families to new schools, and they fall in love with their new school. And our expectation is it won't be any different with Peach Blow Crossing right around the corner. Our goal in every redistricting process is to position the district well for subsequent redistricting decisions as we continue to grow. And again, we do so many things so well as far as planning forward, and appreciate the work of our committee and how thoughtful and intentional they are when redrawing our attendance boundaries. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Karen Jackson from Wolpert to outline the adjusted attendance boundaries effective for 24-25 school year. So this is going to be a video. Dustin, do I have to hit the button for it to play?
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. As mentioned, my name is Karen Jackson, and I will be taking you through the specifics of the 2024-25 Olentangy Schools Boundaries recommendation. This slide shows our current 2023-24 boundaries and the associated data. The capacity of the elementary schools, or the number of students that each building can hold, does not include the spaces that are dedicated for pre-K students. Along with this, the enrollment values do not include pre-K enrollment. The enrollment values are based on enrollment information from November 2023. District-wide, the elementary schools are currently utilized at 104%. This will drop down to 98% with the addition of Peach Blow Crossing Elementary. The middle schools are currently utilized at 103%, and the high schools are utilized at 101%. The feeder tables to the right of the utilization table details the existing feeder patterns from elementary to middle and middle to high. The left-hand column shows the lower level school that will feed into the higher level school. For example, if you look at Alum Creek in the elementary to middle feeder chart, you can see that 29% of students from Alum Creek will move on to Berkshire for middle school, and 71% of students from Alum Creek will move on to Shanahan for middle school. Peach Blow Crossing Elementary is located at the intersection of Peach Blow and Piatt Roads in Berlin Township. This slide shows the map and metrics for our 2024-25 recommended boundary plan. The Peach Blow Crossing boundary can be seen in a darker shade of purple. On the north side, the only changes made were to move students into the new school. As you can see in the metrics on the left, Peach Blow Crossing Elementary relieves Arrowhead and Cheshire. There are no changes to the middle school or high school boundaries on the north side. There is also a small change on the south side. This moves the Point at Polaris 2 into Alum Creek and Berkshire in order to allow the same apartment complex to attend the same schools. We also have the feeder patterns associated with our recommendation. Peach Blow Crossing Elementary will feed 100% into Berlin Middle and Berlin High School. The recommended boundaries move 573 K through 5th grade students, which is 479 K through 4th grade students moved when considering the 5th graders will be moving into the middle schools regardless of the boundary plan. The plan also moves 3 middle school students with our south side change, 2 of which are currently 8th graders and will be moving on to Orange High School next year when these boundaries go into effect. One of the committee's goals in this process is to avoid moving students more than once at any given level, elementary, middle, or high. In order to accomplish this goal, the committee agreed that at this time, it makes sense to move fewer students in anticipation of future processes. In a few slides, I will be sharing utilization projections as well as housing development information within each boundary. If new schools do not become available, overutilization of schools will be widespread, Arrowhead and Cheshire included, in just a few years due to the housing developments currently pointed at them. The committee recognizes the difficulty that changing schools can bring, and in order to minimize this on any given child, they purposefully avoided changing boundaries beyond filling Peachblow Crossing and making a neighborhood continuity adjustment on the south side. With the ballot issue, the committee did not want to make a change now that could lead to an additional change next school year, causing an unnecessary hardship on any given student. We will have more information next year and will be better able to make an informed decision at that point. This map shows the area north of Cheshire Road that is moving into the Peachblow Crossing boundary from the Cheshire Elementary boundary. This area will remain in the Berlin Middle and Berlin High School boundaries. The neighborhoods moved include Glen Ross North, the Reserve at Glen Ross North, and Glen Ross North Phases 5 and 6, a development. This map shows the area south of Cheshire Road that is moving into the Peachblow Crossing boundary from the Arrowhead Elementary boundary. This area will remain in the Berlin Middle and Berlin High School boundaries. The neighborhoods moved include the Enclave at Glen Ross, the Landings at Glen Ross, the Communities at Glen Ross, Ross Estates, a development, and Pulte Homes Glen Ross, another development. And this map shows the small area near Polaris that is moving into the Alum Creek and Berkshire boundaries from the Freedom Trail and Orange Middle boundaries. This area will remain in the Orange High School attendance zone. The neighborhood moved is the Point at Polaris 2 apartment complex. This move allows the same apartment complex to attend the same schools, kindergarten through 12th grade. The table on this slide details the projected enrollment for each school boundary over the next few years should every boundary remain the same, and illustrates the current number of housing units and number of units approved to be developed within each boundary. The utilization percentages show the projected enrollment divided by the capacity of each school, and any shade of red indicates overutilization within the building. Should nothing change over the next 6 years, 20 of the 27 schools will be overutilized, 10 of which will be over 110% utilized. On the right side of the chart, we have our existing and developing housing unit counts. Green shows single-family units, with the total existing units on the left and the total developing units on the right by boundary. And pink shows multifamily units, which includes apartments, condominiums, and townhomes. Again, the total existing multifamily units are on the left and the total developing multifamily units are on the right. We also show the total acreage of vacant developable land within each boundary. At this point in time, the Olentangy Local School District is almost 78% built out, based on the identified vacant land within the district that could be developed into housing. This 78% value is assuming that all planned developments are completed. Please keep in mind that any land that is rezoned to residential would cause a change in the developable land left within the district. These maps show the utilizations of each school, by boundary, over the next 5 years, should no new schools become available and no boundary adjustments be made. Each column contains an elementary, middle, and high school boundary map for that school year, with each boundary shaded to represent the utilization of that school. The utilization is the enrollment of a school divided by its capacity. The blue shows schools utilized under 80%, green shows utilizations between 80 and 90%, and yellow shows schools that are approaching overutilization, between 90 and 100% utilized. Both shades of red show schools that are overutilized. The light red shows schools that are between 100 and 110% utilized, and the dark red shows schools that are greater than 110% utilized. It is important to note that the ideal utilization for schools is anywhere between 80 and 85%. This ideal utilization allows for flexibility for circumstances such as especially large cohorts of students, pull-out resource spaces for students to get one-on-one attention, and special education classes. As you can see, Olentangy is projected to continue to experience enrollment growth. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so before I get to, I just wanted to update the board on current overflow, our current overflow situation and where we're overflowing kids to outside of Arrowhead and Cheshire Elementary. Because as I said, currently we're overflowing out of Cheshire and Elementary, and then also Freedom Trail and Glen Oak. So to date, we've overflowed 37 students this year. So essentially, and again, this is complex, but at Cheshire, the building, we're in overflow. But at other schools, based on the ratio of a grade level class section, it may be too high. So when we determine it's too high, then that grade level is overflowed. So when a new family enrolls in a new student welcome center, we know the grade levels. They call our HR office, and we talk about sections that are closed out. One of the dynamics in that, so if a family enrolls with 3 students and one grade level's overflowed, then have to make a decision to overflow the whole family, because I don't think we've had one that says, oh, I want to split the family up. So there is compounding effect as well, depending on number of children that they have in their family. So that's current for us, and we'll continue to, as students enroll second semester, which they will, we'll continue to work through that. Another challenge for us just operationally as a district, when we're overflowing students who require transportation, so we're overflowing them, they're not transferring, so we then are required to provide transportation. So again, working operationally with our transportation department, they work on making sure that they create that route to offer service, transportation service to the building for overflow. So, Ms. Davis, introducing the Peach Blow Crossing ...
All right. Hello, everyone. I am excited to share the imagery for the new Peach Blow Crossing Elementary School. We partnered with Colt Marketing, our principal, Katie Gryjak, and a committee of 8 engaged future Peach Blow Crossing elementary parents to determine and design the school's mascot and colors. And those 8 parents came from areas that were almost certainly guaranteed to be part of that redistricted, area that they were close enough that we knew that they would likely be there. So 8 super engaged parents and Ms. Gryjak met, and they discussed goals for the school's culture. They discussed positive behavioral interventions and supports, our PBIS, for students, and explored a multitude of options within our elementary guidance of selecting an insect or an animal that is an alliteration with one of the words in the school's name. So have you all been guessing what it might be? Since there's Peach Blow and Crossing, you have multiple options here. The committee submitted 3 options for the mascot that the district leadership team selected from, and then worked with Colt to fine-tune the mascot's design and colors. And so now we will share a really quick video revealing the new Peach Blow Crossing brand. So welcome to the Peach Blow Crossing Coyotes, yay! So one thing that I know is important to Mrs. Gryjak is that the animal is native to the area so that it can be woven into different learning opportunities for the students at this school. The committee submitted the coyotes because it travels in packs and work together, resourceful, and shows perseverance, and they like the mischievous, creative, and curious side of coyotes that is fun for elementary students. And so I can't wait to see all the really neat things that they choose to do with their new coyote, and come up with the great PBIS ideas. And I can already just...
When you're looking at it where you need to, because we have the side profile, and we really want to use the word like howl to be included in our PBIS, our positive behavior intervention system. So we're very excited. I'm sure we're going to hear lots of howling. What a great committee we had. Such collaborative effort, thoughtfulness, and just wanting to make it a great place for our families. So super excited about tonight, like Mr. Meyer said, officially have students, a lot of students. Very excited to fill Peach Blow Crossing Elementary next year, and proud to be a Coyote.
Hey, so we also wanted to share with you just what the Coyote looks like with all of its other elementary friends. And preschool too. All right. And with that, go to.
Very good.
Yes, thank you.
Ballot issue.
And congratulations. So, as a principal who opened a new building, what a tremendous opportunity. And yes, your school is filled, but they're going to keep coming, so you'll keep adding.
I was like looking, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Yeah.
There
So-
was, I was just living in the community, but what a great thing, what a great problem to have, right? Everyone keeps coming because we have great schools.
Absolutely. So congratulations
Thank you.
and best of luck. You're going to do great. So it's exciting. It's exciting. So March 2024 ballot issued, know the facts. So over the next few months, Mr. Jenkins and I will be using some time in our presentations to report facts about the March 2024 ballot issue to the community and to the board. We thought it is extremely important to continue to educate the community as we work towards March. Whoa, that's it. So you guys saw this in Karen's presentation, but I want to emphasize looking forward because, again, enrollment growth will happen and will continue to happen. So this would be, should nothing change beyond the 24-25 school year. So next year, we're opening elementary 17, so if nothing should change beyond that, you can see at all three levels the utilization that happens moving forward, 25-26, 26-27, 27-28, through 28-29, and how red and deep red the utilization becomes in all of our buildings. And again, I had mentioned the cliff at the elementary level, so you can see we're already there, and we're going to continue to move throughout the years, and then you can see the middle school will start to pick up in 25-26, and then the high school really starting next year, and then throughout the next 4 years. So again, when we look at that, and with our growth, and I said about being responsible and planning ahead, and this is the why, the need for additional buildings to accommodate the 5,000 students that will be here the next 10 years.
So just to call attention to this, so if a middle school, were to start next year, a two-year construction window, we'd be looking at the 26-27 map of what it looks like. That's the first it could open, is 26-27, and we see what it looks like there. Every year after that, it just gets darker red, throughout. And then the high school, again, the 3 years, we're looking at 27-28, where we can see what that map looks like. So just, again, trying to keep in mind, as we said earlier, that the schools don't pop up overnight.
Correct.
So we really have to understand what the maps look like in the time it takes to build a school.
Well, and if I, one other thing, earlier, the discussion about peak or ideal utilization was at 80 to
85%.
80 to 85. Okay, so that's green. I see a little bit of green out there, and I have to laugh that the blue of under 80%, the only blue I see is Alum Creek, literally the body of water. So, yeah, we're right up against it.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and we just have to continue to balance, obviously being fiscally responsible, and the timeline for building these buildings. So the March, this question has come up quite a few times. So passing the March 2024 ballot issue ensures that 2 elementary schools can be built in the time to open in the 25-26 school year, and a high school, as we talked about, in the time frame for 27-28. So location of the buildings. So high school 5, we have land will be located on district-owned land on Bunny Station Road west of Sawmill Parkway. And I'll show, on the next slide, I'll show a map, a geographical map of the district, and we'll point out the locations. Elementary 18 will be located on district-owned land on Bean Aller, just west of Sawmill Parkway. Elementary 19 will be built on district-owned land adjacent to Berkshire Middle School on 3 Bs and a K. And again, this is important too, because when they built Berkshire Middle School, they put a pad because we have land there next to Berkshire. So thinking in the future, the district had already planned for a future elementary on that site. So the equivalent to when you think of Hyatt's and Liberty Tree, that's what it would look like. And then we will continue to monitor enrollment for grades K-8 to ensure optimal timeline for opening an additional elementary, so elementary 20 and then middle school 7. So we have site on Curve Road that has enough land for a middle school and high school. So when you look at this, and all of you have seen this heat map and the student density and over the years, how it's continued to become more dense and go north. So on that map, you can see the pink, and I'm probably going to walk over here real quick because I want to point it out. So on pink, so elementary 18, so this is Bean Aller. This is the Bunty Station, high school 5. And then over here, Berkshire, elementary 19. And then up here, this is the north property that we own up on Curve Road for potentially elementary 20 and middle school 7. So those are all district-owned properties that we own, and again, that people way before me had planned for the continued future growth in Olentangy. So those are the school sites and locations, so I wanted to make sure that I pointed those out tonight as well. So any questions before I get into action items?
Do you want to talk about where we might have trailers?
Oh, yeah, I forgot that's important. Yeah, it was right on this slide, because we talked about, again, enrollment growth. So again, with doing nothing, because I wanted to point this out, because I had mentioned 6 modular classrooms at Cheshire. So moving forward, if we're in the trailer business to accommodate capacity at our schools, I just want to be clear. So next year, we would be looking at 2 elementary schools that may need trailers next year would be Scioto Ridge Elementary and Glen Oak Elementary. So again, we'll continue, Scioto Ridge is well over capacity. So we'll have to continue to monitor enrollment at those 2 buildings, because we'll have to take grade advancement, 5th graders leaving, and then also new kindergartners coming in, and 1st grade, because we do see an increase in 1st grade in our enrollment over the year. So those 2 buildings in next year, and if without passing in 24, so in 25, 26, 5 elementary schools, we'd have to make a decision as a district leadership team to make a recommendation to the board. So 5 elementary schools in the northwest, southwest, and southeast quadrants of the district: Indian Springs Elementary, Liberty Tree Elementary, Scioto Ridge Elementary, Glen Oak, and Freedom Trail. So we would be adding Indian Springs, Liberty Tree, and Freedom Trail to the list, the other 2 from the previous year. So then moving forward, in 26, 27, we would be looking at 9 elementary schools that may need trailers. And that year would be all 4 quadrants of the district. So again, Indian Springs, Liberty Tree, Scioto Ridge, Glen Oak, Freedom Trail. We would add Johnny Cake, Wyandotte Run, and Oak Creek. And either, believe it or not, Cheshire again, Shale Meadows, or Peach Blow Crossing. So that's what we're facing moving forward in the future. So again, that's something that we'd have to look at based on capacity, utilization, and again, where families are actually moving in the school district.
And just to be clear, those trailers not free?
Those are not free.
Okay.
So absolutely
Does-
not. And we would have to, depending on enrollment, we would do from 2 to 6. So we could do
I think
2
it was
classrooms.
300 a trailer.
Right. Yeah, 300,000 a trailer.
At
How
least,
does-
at least.
How does redistricting look like? Does that allow you to, so if you did trailers, modulars, does that allow you to avoid additional redistricting? Or if the levy does not go, does that impact redistricting?
So probably both. It's for sure we can do trailers, but we're also going to look at redistricting, especially at the high school level, because the attendance boundary that is going to continue to explode would be Berlin High School. So when we got to 27, 28, I believe they'd be at 2,200, we would have to look at multiple redistricting out of Berlin back to the other schools. So 200 to 300 students per year. Because they're projected with build-out or growth at 3,600 at Berlin High School. And
So 3 years back, so you said 27, 28, did I hear that right?
we're going to open, yes, we're going to open, we plan to open, if we're successful, or when we're successful in the spring, High School 5 in 27, 28. So that would be the year, if we didn't open, High School 5, we'd be looking at redistricting out of. And again, the advantage for us and for the district is to redistrict once, not 3 and 4 times. Because obviously, when we open new buildings, that's the normal process. We redistrict into the new buildings.
Sorry, not to prolong this, but what year did Berlin High School open? 2016, is that right?
2018. So we passed in 16 to open
Yeah,
in
so we're
18.
looking at 9 years after Berlin opened for the next one, yeah.
Correct.
But for our discussions as well, Mr. O'Brien, that was a 16 levy?
Yes. 16 levy was to open Berlin
For operating.
and to build. That was the bond. And we
Bond, yeah.
were a little behind there, but we did some upfront work.
Is it 16 open and 18? That's
Correct.
right, yeah.
Well, when you mentioned being behind, that's what I'm talking about with the 2016 at Liberty.
Yes. So again, for district leadership team, we have a lot of discussions about being responsible and setting the district up for success moving forward in the next 10 years. Okay, so moving on, superintendent action items. So we have 3 retirements, 4 retirements, so because we have a classified retirement, so 4 retirements. So want to congratulate Jay Wolf, a longtime athletic director at Olentangy High School. Will be retiring effective February 7th, so want to thank him for his 25 years of service with Olentangy schools. And to be an AD that long, that's a miracle. So
On OHSBA? Is he staying on like,
Ohio High School, he's moving down south, so I doubt it. And then also want to congratulate Joe Martin, 28 years of service with Olentangy Schools. Laura Simpson, 19 years of service with Olentangy Schools. And then Denise Cartwright, 13 years of service with Olentangy Schools. Also, we have a few more seniors for graduation to approve on this agenda. 2 items of note to approve a memorandum of understanding agreement between the Delaware Morrow Mental Health and Recovery Services Board and the Olentangy Local School District, mental health and substance abuse service provided by Centero. So that's a contract that we have through the Delaware Morrow Mental Health Board and Olentangy services provided from Centero. So that's on tonight for approval. And then also Ohio State professional services for mental health on behalf of Wexner Medical Center. So both of those items are on tonight's agenda for approval. Technology item, I'm recommending approval of data loss prevention software in the amount of $75,000. So this is an enhancement in our cybersecurity to prevent data loss and enhanced user account security. A couple business management items. I think we have one, maybe two, declare transportation as impractical, and then approval of for Construction Analysis LLC as a district owner's representative of record to provide services related to, so elementary 18, 19, and high school 5, and that's consistent part of our process when constructing new buildings. So with that, important dates. Certified, we have a lot of career fairs in Olentangy. We continue to grow, but we continue to hire as well. So I had mentioned this last time, so our Certified Intervention Specialist Career Fair, December 18th, and we're really trying to get ahead of the curve on hiring intervention specialists. The last 2 years for sure, highest percentage of teachers that we hired were in the area of intervention, and it looks like, based on conversation I had with Pupil Services last week, it's going to be the same next year. Classified interview day, you can see a couple up there. That's something that we just continue to do. I will say this, and this is a milestone for Olentangy. So since I've been out of the high school in 2015, just this week, we had the same number of bus drivers hired as routes. So that is huge kudos to HR team and transportation, because continuing to hire bus drivers. So I know out in the community we've had some hiccups throughout the year with operations, so we're going to continue to work on providing the best service that we can. And believe it or not, end of second quarter, first semester, Tuesday, December 19th, right around the corner. And then much deserved winter break starting December 20th through January 2nd. And then the next time we meet will be the Board of Education organizational meeting on Thursday, January 11th, right here, 6:30.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Meyer? Nope. All right, thank you, Mr. Meyer.
Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins, Treasurer's Report.
Good evening, board members. I wanted to do the same thing through the lens of kind of the financial, know the facts. One of the things I probably should have done, and you might want to just jot this down or make a mental note, the existing levy, 4.25 mils, we've already published data that shows, and for ease of calculation, that by the time, if the levy passes, 4.25 mils would be applied to about a $400,000 home. But then remember, we also voted to decrease our debt service millage by 3/4 of a mil, keep about $505 in your head for what would be the effect on a $400,000 home when you take into account the new 4.25 mil levy and the decrease of 3/4 of a mil. So keep right around $500 to $505 in your mind, and that'll make sense in just a second. So what we wanted to do was to take a look at the ask in context, and as Mr. Meyer has already noted, it is the lowest operational ask that we've had in over 30 years, operational meaning for current expenses and for permanent improvements, which are being used for maintenance and upkeep of facilities, kind of the day-to-day keeping the lights on type of things. It is the lowest ask that we've seen in over 30 years. Ultimately, the decrease, when we say the decrease, the last two operating and PI asks were 7.9 mils, which was what we sought in 2020, and 6.9 mils in 2016. And the composition of those in 2020 was 7.4 operating and a half a mil of permanent improvement. And then we would have had 5.9 operating and a full mil of PI in 2016. So you can see, comparatively speaking, that coming back for 4.25 mils is also because of how hard we worked with our state legislature. Had the previous funding formula, though, just to kind of show the example of what I'm saying here. The formula that was in place at the end of the 22-23 school year, had it remained in place, we would have had about $47.5 million worth of funding that would not have flowed to the district over the course of the next 4.5 school years. So that $47.5 million number incorporates taking funding for 22-23 and just kind of locking it in as the standard. So that takes $47.5 million out of our resources. That loss of funding would have had to have been made up. There's just no other way. You have to make that up through local levies. So as a way of perspective, if the current funding formula were not in place, we would need to seek a total of 5.25 mils of operating versus 3. So then when you add in the 1.25 permanent improvement mills, that's 6.5 total mills that we would be seeking rather than 4.25. So now the reason I had you write down $500 or $505, that would be an extra $315 annually for that $400,000 home on top of the roughly $500 that will be with the 4.25 mils. So the next would be, okay, we did all that work. Let's say that state funding is what it currently is. We got the increases that we have worked so hard to get. Well, what happens if we just wait? Let's go ahead and pass this in calendar year 2025. What would happen and what would we need to ask for? Well, if we waited until 2025, remember, we're not going to start collecting until 2026. So those delayed collections mean you have to ask for more when you wait. We believe, and what I've done here is I've compared where we are targeting to end with 27-28 operational reserves versus what would happen if we waited one more year to end in the same spot. And so that would make the ask 4.5 mils. And again, the state funding is there in this scenario. It's just we decide to wait one more calendar year. So that 5.75 mils as opposed to 4.25 is an extra $1.5 million, and that's going to be an extra $210 annually on top of, again, that $500 to $505 ask for the 4.25. Well, suppose we felt like, well, let's just wait one more year. Let's wait until 2026. Well, collections aren't going to start then until 2027. If we did that, this is the biggest ask of all. We would have to have 6.75 mils of operations, and that makes sense because you really compress that window. You know, we talked earlier about what happens if you wait with utilization. The same thing happens on the monetary side. To end the 27-28 school year in a similar situation, which as we know is our 60 days cash, you're talking a 6.75 mil levy, which is an additional, as you can see, 3.75 mils. And that just about doubles what we're asking that owner of a $400,000 home to come up with. The other thing we do when we run a bond issue in this district is we do what's called the no additional millage strategy. And here's how that works. We know values are going to increase by about 30%. We also know, though, that the owner of any home in this district isn't going to see a 30% increase in taxes. Tax rates are reduced. So our estimates tell us, and these are pretty accurate estimates, we double-checked them with the auditor. I don't have the full millage yet. The DTE, what's called a DTE 93 report, has not been produced by the state of Ohio. Once we get that, I know we'll be really, really close, that a 30% increase, based on calculations I've made, will basically take a $400,000 home. If that same $400,000 home sees a 30% increase, and taxes will increase by about 4.75%. So that would be for the tax bills that are going to be mailed here in about 3 to 4 weeks. So that is mathematical justification that when values go up by 30%, rates are going to fall, including the 3/4 mil that we have trimmed, so much so that that home will see about a 4 3/4% increase in the Olentangy portion of their tax bill. But here's the other thing that the 30% increase allows us to do. It allows us to, in our case, lower our debt service mills from 7.5 to 6.75 and still be able to have what we need resource-wise to be able to pay our debt service. Debt service, think about a mortgage on a home. Every year we have to pay back the principal and interest. The strategy is called no additional millage, and it allows us to wisely, and as you can see, efficiently utilize the growth in the district to meet our construction needs, which are pretty well a given in this district. So we're also able to increase the evaluation on existing properties and the addition of new properties as more homes are built. And the reappraisals and construction of these new homes allows the existing millage to be more equitably distributed over existing properties. That's kind of a nice way of saying as new properties come online, they also get an equitable or fair share that doesn't overburden, obviously, existing properties. That's what the entire House Bill 920 process is supposed to do. So we sometimes look back and try to figure out, where are we compared to where we thought we would be? And I would say that based on conversations that happened in the summer of 2022, we're really right where we thought we would be. This was a quote from the previous treasurer who nailed it, absolutely, and it was a discussion that we had here. We've looked at where we need to be in order for operations to kick in, and I know some might focus on the 2026. So what we're saying here is it looks like we're able to go 4 or 5 years into fiscal years 2026. But recall, fiscal year 2026 is the 25-26 school year. In order for the 25-26 school year to be able to start to have the collections you need, you have to pass it either in calendar year 24 or calendar year 25. It's the same thing as with building a building. We can't, when we need a levy, run out real quick to the Board of Elections and say, throw something on for next Tuesday. As we all know, you basically have your shot in November, and then you have your shot in a primary, in a non-presidential that would normally be May, and a presidential, it's like it is this year, it's in March. So in order for us to have the funding when we need to go to the ballot exactly when we're going to the ballot. In the 24-25 school year, clearly we've chosen, the 24-25 calendar year, and clearly we've chosen to take our choice here from March of 2024. Questions about a lot of stuff I just threw at you?
So the summary is, the longer we wait, the more it costs.
That's correct. The longer we wait, the more it costs, and the more crowded it gets. I kind of came up with this on the fly, so if it's good, I'll take credit. If it's a bad analogy, Mr. Meyer and I were talking the other day about the feel of an overcrowded building. The best analogy I could think is, who likes to be stuck on 270 when you got 4 lanes and you can't move because every lane is packed? That anxiety, that frustration, everything you're feeling is kind of the analogy I would give to what it feels like in an overcrowded building. All of the negativity of human emotions gets exacerbated when you're elbow to elbow with people on top of you. So that's kind of a qualitative statement for talk 80%, 85%. When you start talking packed or full, 100, 105, 110, it feels like you're stuck in rush hour traffic and you can't move.
Go ahead.
Say, relative to timing, I totally understand. If the longer you wait, the more you have to ask for because you burn through more of your reserves. Does it also impact the duration in which you can go between levies?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I had to do. I had to make a decision to just stop at 27, 28 and compare where we think we're going to be to where, what it would take to get us there. But that's a great point, that if I would have just carried, because by the time, if we wait until 2025, well, the 5-year forecast period will run through at that point in time, like 2029. If we wait until 2026, it'll run through 2030. So absolutely, you could find that not only are you asking for more mills if you wait until 25 or 26, but because now you're going to tack more into the unknown, you're going to have to come back faster. It's correct. It's exactly right.
So following up on the point you made right before that of, yes, it is more crowded, right? And that in and of itself causes stress. But there are a lot of things in our schools that are there's a limited number of spots. There's only so many spots on a football team, right? There's only so many roles in a play. There's only so much time that our social workers have in a day. And so our teachers and our administrators do yeoman's work in trying to accommodate everyone. But the more people that are there, the more difficult it is, the longer you have to wait, the fewer things the extracurriculars that make school so special, those things start to become really problematic. So I'm glad that you are highlighting both the financial cost and the human cost.
Yes, they would be. I think it would be, short-sighted to be able to do just one or the other because they play together. So not only is the qualitative experience going to decline, but it also makes, if I may be so bold, much better financial sense. It also makes sense to be strategic and to plan and to not wait. We talked about trailers and more rapid redistricting to basically solve problems that come up that could have potentially been avoided with the level of planning that we're trying to do with this combined bond, PI, and operating issue.
You're talking about, we're talking about financial, we're talking about facilities, but the bottom line is it comes down to academic achievement. And all those things impact academic achievement. And the research on this kind of stuff is interesting, and it all boils down to this. There aren't too many folks that are volunteering to go to really crowded classrooms and schools, and that's why it matters. Because it does impact our mission when we cannot achieve this. And this has been planned out by folks who've been here long before most of us really moved here. So thank you for making it so crystal clear from both superintendent and treasurer perspective.
Thanks. If there are no further questions about that, the rest of my items are just the normal action items. The minutes from November 16th, updated appropriations, approval of the financials for the month of November, some donations that came to us from our generous support groups, the revised resolution to proceed, which is pulling in the 2023 valuation as opposed to the 2022. And other than that, if there are no other questions, I'll sit down.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Do we have any public participation?
No, we do not.
Okay. So we will now, next with public participation, we don't have any, so we'll go right into the only discussion item, and it's Dr. Jack Fetty, the second reading of the board policy updates.
Good evening. Tonight you'll be asked to vote on the final batch of our board policies from our policy audit. Following the audit, we have moved into administrative guideline revisions, and then that will lead us to form revisions, which will take us through all of the next calendar year. But this is the last batch of policies from our audit process. Are there any questions on these before you vote tonight?
We had the red lines in our pre-read. Anyone? Okay. All right. Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go right into the board action items, and we're going to take them separately. So for the first board action item, do we have to go open nomination, or can we just choose somebody?
It is normally the way I've done it, but it's
nomination
your
process?
guys' show. You do what you want. Yeah.
All right, so we'll go through the whole nomination process. So the first action item is to assign a president pro tempore for the Thursday, January 11th Board of Education meeting. This is necessary because as of 12/31 of 2023, we no longer have a leadership identified as the board. So we assigned temporary leadership to open up the board meeting in January so that we can select leadership. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to open up nominations for the president pro tempore. So I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Okay. Now that nominations are open, can I have a nomination for president pro tempore?
So I think that there's really only one choice.
The most
Someone that has the
experienced person
most
on the board?
experienced person of the board of serving as president pro tempore. I nominate Dr. Elizabeth Wallach.
All right, do I have any other nominations? All right, I'll now entertain a motion, or we'll vote on closing nominations before we actually vote on the nomination.
So moved.
In a second, please.
Second.
All right, all in favor of closing nominations? Please vote in the affirmative. Or could you call the roll? Sorry. Jumped ahead.
So I've got one vote here, and unless you want me to create more, do you want to just do a voice vote?
You need 2 votes. One to close nomination, one to vote on.
So what I'm saying is can we just take those, and I'll note that we, by voice vote, did that, and then the one I've got for a roll call vote?
Yes.
So by voice vote, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign?
Good. Now, we'll vote on the nomination of Dr. Libby Wallach as president pro tempore for January 11th meeting. Do we have to do a motion and a second, or we just vote?
As far as I'm concerned, we can just vote.
Let's just vote. Do the roll, please.
By voice vote, all those in favor of Dr. Libby Wallach to be president pro tempore, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign?
Unanimous. Okay.
I don't know if Roberts is somewhere upset at us because we just
we kinda
destroyed Robert's rules or
mishmashed.
not.
In his grave.
All right, I'll now entertain a motion to approve board action item B, which is to approve the board policy updates that Dr. Fitty just referenced. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on the recommended approval of the board policy updates? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Just a second, all right.
Okay.
I confused myself. Who was the motion and second to approve?
Lester, then Deborah.
Lester Wallach?
Me and I think it was Libby.
Oh, okay.
And then for the next one, yeah, I was still behind on B.
It's okay.
Yeah, B.
Motion and second there was who?
That was me and Libby.
Sorry, if I go back one to A, who was the,
A was me and Kevin. D.
got it. Okay. Dr. Dabrico,
Yes.
Dr. Wise,
Yes.
Dr. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Lester.
Yes.
All right. When you're ready, Mr. Jenkins, if you will approve the treasure, or
Technology.
put forward the treasure action items.
So, yep, same items, A through E, minutes is A, board approval of the appropriations B, the November financials C, the donations D, and recommended approval for the revised resolution to proceed, and they're all captured in a consent under F.
Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
A motion, second?
Second.
Any discussion on the treasure action items? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Dr. Wise,
Yes.
Dr. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Lester,
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico.
Yes.
All right, we'll now move to the superintendent action items. So could we, I'd recommend this, Mr. Meyer, present everything but superintendent action item I. We'll take that separately.
Correct. So I'd like to present superintendent action items A through G for approval.
Okay, can I have a motion for A through G?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second. So any discussion on superintendent action items A through G? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Lester,
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico,
Yes.
Dr. Wise,
Yes.
Dr. Wallach.
Yes.
Okay, so we have remaining, go ahead.
Yeah.
Superintendent action item I. So, Mr. Meyer, would you please put that forward?
Yes, I'd like to recommend superintendent action item I for approval, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a motion and a second. Any discussion on item I, which is the professional service agreements with OSU, which Mr. Lester needed to abstain? No discussion. Please call the roll.
Dr. Dabrico.
Yes.
Dr. Wise.
Yes.
Dr. Wallach.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes. All right, I will now entertain a motion to move into executive session to discuss disputes involving a public body that are subject to pending or imminent court action with legal counsel present and/or for the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee. So could I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Dr. Wise.
Yes.
Dr. Wallach.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Lester.
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico.
Yes.
All right, when we return, we will only return to adjourn, and we will adjourn sine die.
City Diet.
Sine die. Call the meeting back to order at 9:48 PM. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll be adjourning sine die.
So moved.
Okay,
Second?
second. Any discussion on the adjournment?
Just that it's Dr. Wise's last vote.
That's right. All right, please call the roll. Mr. Jenkins?
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Dr. Wise?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes. All right, we're adjourned.